Let me ask you a question. You have two investments. Last year, Investment A made a 10% return. Investment B also made a 10% return. Are they equally good investments? The average person says, yeah, 10% is 10%. Looks the same. But the professional investor knows the answer is, it depends. What if I told you that to get that 10%? Investment A was a smooth, steady ride, while Investment B was a terrifying, stomach-churning roller coaster that almost dropped to zero 3 times? Suddenly, they don't look the same, do they? This is the central problem for every serious investor. It's not just about what you make. It's about how much risk you took to make it. And in this video, you're going to learn the single most important metric professionals use to measure this. It's called the Sharpe ratio. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand exactly what the Sharpe ratio is, but you'll also know how to use it to make smarter, more confident investment decisions, and instantly see which funds are actually high quality, and which ones are just lucky. Let's get into it. So, what is the Sharpe ratio? In the simplest terms, it's a report card for your investment. But unlike your school report card, which just gave you a grade, the Sharpe ratio tells you how you got that grade. It was developed by Nobel Prize winner William F. Sharpe, and it answers one simple, powerful question. Am I being paid enough for the amount of risk I'm taking? Think about it. Anyone can get a high return if they're willing to take a massive, gamble-like risk. You could go to Vegas and put all your money on red. You might get a 100% return. But you also took an insane amount of risk. The Sharpe ratio cuts through that noise. It measures your risk-adjusted return. It's the tool that helps you compare two completely different investments, like a tech stock and a bond fund, on an apples-to-apples basis, to see which one is giving you more bang for your buck, or, more accurately, more return for your risk. Okay, so why is this so important? Why does it matter to you? Because using the Sharpe ratio is what separates amateurs from professionals. The amateur investor chases headline returns. They see a fund that did 30% last year and they pile in, without asking how it got there. They're focused on the reward. The professional investor looks at that same fund and first asks, what was the volatility? What was the risk? They're focused on the risk-reward trade-off. Here's the danger. An investment with a high return but a terrible Sharpe ratio is often a sign of luck, or extreme, unsustainable volatility. It's a boom and bust investment. An investment with a high Sharpe ratio, however, is a sign of skill and quality. It shows that the investment manager or strategy is efficiently generating returns, without making you ride that crazy, stressful roller coaster. It's the key to finding stable, long-term investments that build wealth, rather than just giving you a temporary high, followed by a crushing low. Alright, so how does this thing actually work? How is it calculated? This is the part that sounds complicated, but the concept is actually really simple. I know, that looks like scary math. But let's break it down into its 3 simple parts. Part 1. R_P. Your portfolio's return. This is the easy one. It's the 10% return we talked about. What did your investment actually make over a set period, like 1 year? Part 2. R_F. The risk-free rate. This is a critical concept. The risk-free rate is what you could have earned with zero risk. Think of it as the interest rate on a U.S. Treasury bill, or a high-yield savings account. It's the couch investment, the guaranteed return you could get for doing nothing. Part 3. Sigma_P. Standard deviation. This is the only tricky one, but the concept is easy. Standard deviation is just the official sounding word for volatility, or how bumpy was the ride. A low standard deviation means the investment was smooth and steady. A high standard deviation means it was all over the place, way up 1 month, way down the next. Now, let's put it all together. The top part of the formula. R_P, R_F, is called your excess return. It's your 10% portfolio return, minus the 3% you could have gotten risk-free. So your excess return, the reward you got for taking a risk, was 7%. The bottom part, Sigma_P, is your risk. So, the Sharpe ratio is simply your excess return divided by your risk. It's your reward per unit of risk. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, I get my portfolio return from my brokerage. I can look up the risk-free rate, but how on earth do I find my portfolio's standard deviation? And that's the hard part. Manually calculating all this can be complex. It involves spreadsheets, historical data, and a lot of math you really don't want to do. That's exactly why I built a free, easy-to-use calculator on my website, Fincalconline.online, to do it for you in seconds. It'll save you a ton of time. You just plug in your numbers, and it does all the hard math for you, giving you the Sharpe ratio instantly. I'll put the link in the description. Let's make this crystal clear, with a real-world example. Let's go back to our two funds. Let's say the risk-free rate is 3%. Fund A is the aggressive tech fund. It got a 12% return. Awesome. But its standard deviation, its risk, was 20%. It was a wild ride. Fund B is the boring utility fund. It only got an 8% return. Seems worse, right? But its standard deviation, its risk, was only 5%. Super smooth and steady. Now, which one was the smarter investment? Let's run the numbers. For Fund A, its excess return is 12%, minus 3% equals 9%. We divide that 9% by its risk, which was 20%. Fund A's Sharpe ratio is 0.45. For Fund B, utility its excess return is 8%, minus 3% equals 5%. We divide that 5% by its risk, which was 5%. Fund B's Sharpe ratio is 1.0. And there it is. Fund B, the boring fund, has a Sharpe ratio of 1.0, which is more than double Fund A's 0.45. This tells you that Fund B was dramatically better at rewarding you for the risk you took. For every 1 unit of risk you took on, it gave you back 1 unit of reward. Fund A, on the other hand, made you take on a ton of risk, 20% volatility, and gave you less than half a unit of reward back for it. A professional investor sees this immediately. Fund B is the higher quality, more efficient investment, even though its headline return was lower. So, what is a good Sharpe ratio? This is the most common question I get. Here's a general, but not perfect, guideline. A Sharpe ratio less than 1.0, it's considered may or not good. It means you're taking on more risk than you're being rewarded for. A Sharpe ratio from 1.0 to 1.99, this is considered good. You're being well compensated for your risk. This is a solid target. A ratio from 2.0 to 2.99, this is very good or excellent. A ratio of 3.0 or higher, this is exceptional, or, frankly, it's so high you should double-check the math. It's very rare to see this sustained over long periods. And a quick common mistake. You cannot compare the Sharpe ratio of a fund from a 1-year period to a fund from a 10-year period. You must compare them over the exact same time frame. Another quick mistake. What if the Sharpe ratio is negative? That's really bad. It means you're not even beating the risk-free, zero-risk T-bill. It's the worst of both worlds. You're taking on risk, and you're losing money or underperforming the safest thing you could have bought. Alright, let's wrap this up. What did we learn? 1. Don't just chase returns. You must look at risk. The Sharpe ratio is the number one tool to do this. 2. The Sharpe ratio measures your risk-adjusted return. It answers the question, am I getting paid enough for this bumpy ride? 3. Aim for a Sharpe ratio over 1.0. This is the sign of a high-quality, efficient investment that's properly rewarding you for the risk you're taking. So, here is your one simple action step from this video. Go find the Sharpe ratio for the biggest fund you own. Your 401k, S&P 500 fund, your favorite ETF, anything. You can often find it on your brokerage's website, or you can use the calculator I built at Fincalconline.online to figure it out yourself. The link is in the description. This one number will give you more insight into the quality of your investment than almost anything else. Stay smart, and thanks for watching.